the relationship between the mind and the environment. I imagine myself in a void, nothing, no movement, just stillness. Applied behavioral analysis proposes that children develop complexes before an obstacle they must navigate to reach an object of desire. Human behavior can be reduced down to three constants: attraction, repulsion, and the complex that must arise from essentially becoming one with the obstacle. Imagine that something pops into existence. This incongruency in the environment stimulates the brain. The brain extends its ethereal form around the object, feeling it as if it were some sort of cosmic goop that bends itself around the environment through neuroplasticity. What's really interesting is how the mind recognizes something is there to begin with, and for this, there's literally no language. The closest word I can use is movement. Actually, I have it. The intensity of the SD in ABA is what I think we call it. Movement is merely a vector. This intensity can manifest in many ways. If everything were of the same intensity, be it color, movement, size, shape, there would be no incongruency in the environment, and thus the mind would have no anchor. The feminine will seek to erode the boundaries between things, and this is why many men have sought to covet, control, and direct it. Looking at it from an evolutionary perspective, but also with this frame of reference, to get the clearest and most concise view, you must look to the origin, and all origin arises from function. I posit the idea that men, because of their inherent vulnerabilities compared to other animals, seek to establish permanent boundaries with the world, even though men are strong enough to fight physically. I also posit that the mind extends the body's capabilities. I also posit that women, in their vulnerability towards the physical world, like their male counterparts, and their period of vulnerability during childbearing, would have to be attached to men for survival during their period of vulnerability. Not that there weren't female hunters, which we are discovering there were. So I think the Greeks saw that the women who would survive would be the ones that could erode the mental boundaries between herself and a man, where he would be attached enough not to leave her behind. Whereas perhaps they saw the man as establishing boundaries with other men in regard to what was their territory. But what's more interesting is how this simple relationship between people can establish an entire paradigm for viewing the world. Of course, provided the Greeks were right. And as the eye posited, the erosion of boundaries, or the equilibrium of the intensity between objects, would dissolve human consciousness. This could be why female sexuality was seen as something to fear and control. Maybe the occult understood something, and yet, without this feminine will, society wouldn't function. There would be no empathy, which is necessary for humans to function as a collective. And now you understand the death urge, and its opposite, the life urge,